Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers, and in this video I'm going to be talking about this shoe, the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris, the racing shoe twin with the Metaspeed Sky Paris, a shoe I think it's fair to say we are all big fans of on the channel. So what I'm going to do in this video is take you through what's new from this, the Edge Plus, but also give you some very initial running experiences of comparisons with this, the Metaspeed Sky Paris as well too. So we get into those key stats, and then I'll get into some initial running thoughts on how I found the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris so far. So here's your lowdown on what's new on the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. It's priced at £220 in the UK or $250 in the US, so it pretty much sticks to the price of the Edge Plus and also matches the price of the Sky Paris. The Edge Paris is now lighter, with a UK men's size 8 dropping on the scales at 179 grams compared to 203 grams on the Edge Plus. Asics has changed the drop, going from an 8mm one to a 5mm one, bringing it more in line with the Metaspeed Sky Paris. In terms of stack height, there's more foam at the forefoot now compared to the Edge Plus. That foam is the new FF Blast Turbo Plus, which is lighter than FF Blast Turbo, but promises similar qualities to be bouncier, but now softer feeling and offer a boost in energy return. Asics uses a scooped carbon plate compared to the flatter one in the Sky Paris to generate a more rocketed ride, while positioning of that plate is further from the foot than on the Sky to lead to a more aggressive and propulsive ride. Asics upgrades to its Motion Wrap 2.0 upper to be lighter and more breathable than the one on the Edge Plus, while it uses an Asics Grip rubber outsole which has a similar design to the one featured on the previous Edge shoe. So in terms of fit, I've got the Edge Paris in UK size 8. That's my typical running shoe size. That is the same shoe size I've had the previous Metaspeed series shoes in, also the Metaspeed Sky Paris. And I would say, based on kind of my initial testing, it feels very familiar, very similar to my time in the Edge Paris. I feel like going true to size would work for me. It has worked for me. I haven't found any major issues so far, any kind of concerns just yet. So I feel if you went true to size in the Edge Plus, I feel like it's going to be a similar story with the Edge Paris. I think obviously some things to note here. The upper has changed. It is a more ventilated, more breathable upper when you kind of compare it to the Edge Plus. Now, that would be something I'd expect to kind of appreciate on longer runs. Shorter runs, I haven't really kind of noticed those kind of extra benefits. But, you know, while keeping it nice and light still, I like the fact that it is a more breathable, more ventilated upper this time. The laces haven't changed. I don't absolutely love these laces. And I do find that you have to be very considered about when you're lacing them up to make sure you get a good lockdown before you start running in them. You obviously got quite a skinny tongue, similar to the Edge Plus. And, you know, I just think that combination of two things, just make sure you don't add too much kind of undue pressure on the top of your foot. So be very considered about the kind of lacing, and you know, lockdown in general has been good for me in my couple of runs. The kind of padding in the heel collar, pretty much identical to the Edge Plus, just enough there, but you know, to give you some protection, but not enough to kind of add too much weight to the overall shoe. And obviously this is a light shoe. I think a couple of observations from running in this and in the Metaspeed Sky Paris so far is that this definitely is or feels like a more narrow shoe. Interestingly, it's a shoe that I found easy to kind of slip on compared to the Metaspeed Sky Paris as well. But yeah, overall, I think going true to size, I think based on these kind of initial runs and maybe in a longer run, that will maybe change. But I feel like the space up front of the toes, the volume, maybe a touch more volume compared to the Edge Plus, but generally feels very similar to my experience in the Edge Plus so far, and I would be going true to size based on my initial testing. So in terms of my initial running time in the Edge Paris, I've done a couple of runs with this shoe now. My first was a track session, and I also took along the Metaspeed Sky Paris to do some kind of initial comparisons with the other Metaspeed shoe. And then my second one was meant to be a 5K race, ended up being a park run, kind of running at my kind of typical nearabouts 5K pace. Didn't really anticipate it was going to be a slightly hillier course, and I also did run yesterday as well, probably slightly longer, which probably didn't help. But you know, definitely near or around my kind of typical 5K pace in this shoe. So no longer runs yet, but I will be doing some of those in the next kind of week or so, when I can squeeze in some longer mileage with this shoe. Now, in terms of my experience with the Edge Plus, I think, you know, it's a shoe I enjoyed running in. Definitely is built for racing, definitely is built for speed. I think over kind of long-term testing, I ended up reaching for the Sky Plus more. I ran marathons in that shoe. It just felt like a more comfortable shoe for me in general and just worked better for me. Now in terms of this kind of cadence versus stride runners approach from Asics, now I would probably sit in the cadence runners, which is the, you know, what the Edge shoe is designed for. So when you up your cadence when you are running a little bit quicker, and that's kind of what I would typically do. So, you know, it feels like it should be the better fit for me, though I ended up using the Sky a lot more, have done in previous versions. Now, in terms of the changes here from the Edge Plus, obviously it's lighter. You know, that was, you know, the Edge Plus was a light shoe. This is even lighter. This weighed in lighter for me than the Sky Paris as well too, by a little bit, but you know, it's one of the lightest racing shoes out there. Got that change in the midsole foam as well too, so it's something that's going to be lighter but also give you those kind of key characteristics that you want. Maybe, you know, that still got that bounce, that high rebound. There's a little bit more of that foam in the forefoot as well, which may make this a better shoe to run longer in compared to the previous shoe. Now in that track session, you know, I started off in the Edge Paris, and I would say first thing I noticed is that it is a more narrow fitting shoe than the Sky Paris. I think it's very similar in terms of the fit of the Edge Plus, but maybe it has narrowed a little bit. So from a stability point of view, I think maybe, you know, it's not unstable, but I feel like maybe that, you know, when you are running, you know, at your hardest and getting into that kind of quicker pace, then it does feel like it's a little bit more lively in terms of that feel underfoot. Now you are getting more foam there. I think it does feel different. You still get, I think the characteristics of the Edge Plus is very, or the Edge Paris is very similar to the Edge Plus, you know, getting that high rebound, that quick transition from heel to toe, you know, really kind of getting you through that running motion in a very quick fashion. Your feet really turn over very quickly in this shoe. I do feel like compared to the Metaspeed Sky Paris, it does still feel a touch firmer for me, particularly at the forefoot. I think there is just a little, it feels like there's a little bit more foam for me underfoot at the forefoot of the Sky Paris compared to the Edge Paris. But in terms of kind of rolling through at a quick pace, it felt very good to do. And when you get up and going in this, you know, and in that track session, it felt very good to run in this shoe, and it felt good to run fast in. What I really want to see is how it's going to handle over those longer runs, because I didn't really have a question mark over how it handled kind of shorter distances, maybe going up to 10k, half marathon, but it was after that whether it really kind of delivered, and it's something ultimately put me off from using the Edge Plus for longer runs, where I found it more comfortable to do in the Sky Paris. And then I did that 5k run, a park run, I say close to my kind of all-out 5k pace. Again, felt very good, rolled over very nicely. There were some hills, kind of, you know, from an outsole gripping point of view, all very good. You know, Asics' outsoles are typically very good. It's very similar to what we've seen on the Edge Plus in previous shoes, and like the Edge Plus, definitely improvement in terms of that protection from the outsole, which I still think is, you know, durability wise isn't going to be top tier in terms of those racing shoes and durability, but from a gripping point of view, felt pretty good. It was pretty dry, slightly gravelly pass on that park run as well, but handled that very, you know, fine. You know, slightly muddier sections, but it was generally fine in terms of that gripping. So yeah, it felt, the characteristics feel very similar to the Edge Plus. For me personally, I think you are getting something that offers, you know, very kind of quick transitions, a high rebound. I think having that extra foam, you know, doesn't detract from the feeling you got from the Edge Plus when you're running it a little bit quicker, and it does still feel like a very fast shoe to run in, just very different to my time in the Metaspeed Sky Paris. And yeah, and a few notes. I finished that track session in the Metaspeed Sky Paris. I did feel like that shoe is still a very nice shoe to run, you know, shorter distances or quicker, kind of closer to my kind of track 5k kind of, you know, speeds. I just appreciated the softer feel of the Metaspeed Sky Paris compared to the Edge Plus. I'm getting the feeling it's probably going to be a similar kind of breakout in terms of my experience with the other two shoes or the previous versions, but I'll get into that at the initial my initial thoughts on the two shoes. But yeah, so far I've enjoyed it in the shorter distances. What I really want to see is how it's going to handle those longer distances, because I think that's where what really kind of separated it for me with the other two shoes. And will it be the same story with the Edge Paris and Sky Paris, or will it be very similar now that they share similar characteristics between the two versions of this shoe? So yeah, good couple of runs, shorter runs, albeit, but yeah, definitely reserving judgment, and I'll get into more of my initial thoughts next. So some initial thoughts on the Metaspeed Edge Paris is that absolutely it's still very much a racing shoe. It does feel nice to run fast in. I feel like the characteristics of the shoe are still very much in keeping with the Edge Plus, but ultimately it is lighter. That foam, I think, makes it a little bit more of a nicer experience for me so far. And I think, you know, again, I don't think there was a huge amount of things that needs to be changed from the Edge Plus and the Sky Plus. And I feel like this really tweaks it and just kind of elevates it to make sure it's in keeping with the other kind of top tier racing shoes. I think I do want to reserve judgment. You know, I say there's very initial thoughts. I do think I want to see how it handles those longer runs, because that's ultimately, as I said, what separated it for me with the Sky Plus and the Edge Plus, and me ending up spending more time with the Sky Plus, despite, I would say, being a cadence runner, but actually getting on more with the Sky Plus. Obviously it's expensive, same price as the Sky Plus. I do think it's going to probably sit well with those top tier racing shoes, a light racing shoe. I think it's going to really boil down to whether, you know, your mechanics kind of fit the shoe, really make the most out of it, because ultimately what I'm seeing so far, and I say very early kind of running, is that I feel like you're getting a lot of the same qualities in the Metaspeed Sky Paris, and almost I feel like even those shorter distances and racing that I've done in the Metaspeed Sky Paris, I'm seeing similar qualities, similar, you know, good experiences from that shoe at shorter distances where I've gone longer in it, and I felt like it's a much better shoe to go longer compared to the Sky Plus. Will it be the same story with the Edge Plus? I'm not sure, but yeah, so far I've had a couple of good short runs in it, a nice kind of breezy kind of quick park run in it as well too. I am definitely intrigued now that it's much closer in terms of the characteristics of the Sky version of the Metaspeed as well. So yeah, I'm going to reserve judgment until I've done a little bit more running in it, particularly the longer runs, and we'll let you know when we've got to a bit more testing in this shoe. Okay, so there you have it, some initial running thoughts on the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. Now, obviously plenty more running to do. I've only really done some shorter stuff in this shoe so far, and other members of the team will be having this shoe into test as well. So we have a multi-tester review coming up with this shoe. Obviously, we'll do a more in-depth comparison with the Metaspeed Sky Paris as well too. But if there are other, you know, kind of racing shoes that you're desperate to see how this compares to, or want to know how it compares to, do let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.